Alright, so now we're going to explore and take a look at the shape of some modifiers in a little bit more detail. Obviously, modifiers come in a variety of shapes and sizes. We're going to look at some of the more common shapes, which is the octabox. We're going to look at the rectangular softbox, the strip box, the umbrella, and the beauty dish. And you've seen a few of these throughout the course of the few videos, but what key differences I want you to kind of notice when we use these relatively close and soft is actually how similar they are. And you're going to see that a lot of these different modifiers produce relatively similar results. You're going to see slight differences in the specularity or in the contrast, but truth be told, they're quite a bit more similar than you might think. There are some slight variations for how they control light, but what you're really going to see the difference in is in the catch lights and the shape of the reflection of the light in the eyes. And that can have a variety of different results or can be decided because of different kinds of purposes. And we're going to talk about those a little bit more in a second. So before we dig into a few of these different modifiers, we're going to do a quick little control test with just this hard light. Obviously we've seen the hard light before, but we're also going to look a little bit closer at the catch light. And we're going to move in close. We're going to do this for each of them with the catch light. Okay. The catch light in this one is going to be pretty small. All right, so the first modifier we're going to look at is going to be the octabox, and this is a 4-foot octabox, 8 sides, octa, and it's going to be a pretty soft light. This particular one has one baffle. Sometimes you'll see multiple baffles, and these come in a variety of different configurations and sizes, but this is going to create a round catch light in the eyes. And some photographers, catering to a certain kind of OCD, they like the round concentric circles inside the eyes, so they'll regularly use round modifiers, whether it's an octabox or the beauty dish or other things. So we're going to take a look at the octabox first. And we are going to bring all these modifiers in pretty close to show you that, soft light is soft light. Bring that in nice and close. There we go. Great. All right, now let's get a meter on this. 11, great. Moving close. Great. So this is the octabox. All right, the next one we're going to take a look at is the 4x6 rectangular softbox. Again, these come in a lot of different sizes. This one's pretty large, meaning it's going to be pretty soft. Has 2 baffles on the inside. The shape is going to be a rectangle. Okay. Remember, we are pointing the middle, the hot spot area at the face, so we're going to need to bring that up just a tiny bit. There we go. And again, we're going to get a meter on this. Go ahead. We're at 8. Inner baffle made us lose about an extra stop of power. Great. All right, so that is the rectangular softbox. All right. Next one we're going to take a look at is an umbrella. Again, comes in a variety of sizes. This one here is the XL, so it's pretty large. Remember, the umbrellas have no hotspot because they bounce. So they're going to give us a nice wide, soft spread of light. Looks like this. And for that, we have to flip the light away. It is going to take away a little bit of power from the light, but it's going to make it softer and more even. Okay, and the meter. 8. And the close-up. Great. All right, so we're going to take that off. And we're going to take a look at the strip. And this is a small strip. Some strips are very large. This one is a little bit smaller. This is only about a 3-foot tall strip, and it's only you know, less than a foot wide. It's pretty small. These aren't often used as main lights, but we are using one as a main light. It's going to the softness is going to be similar to other soft boxes of the size, but the point is you're going to see a tighter channel of light. And you're going to see less light on the background when we use this. All right, and so we have the strip box here. It's going to, like I said, create a little bit more of a tight channel of light. So we're going to get less light on the background. It's going to be darker shadows on the side of the face. So the whole thing is going to feel a little bit more contrasty, but you'll notice the edge of the light's still going to be pretty soft. So let's get a meter on this. Great. And then I'm going to move in pretty close. That's great. And then finally, the last one we're going to look at is the beauty dish. And the beauty dish is a very soft light because it uses the idea of diffused reflection, which we talked about a little bit earlier. So the plate is meant to block the direct light that comes out. It bounces off and then bounces off all of this other white light here. And you can put a diffuser on this, you can put a grid on it to really isolate and channel the light. So this can be modified a little bit more. But the idea is that it just creates really soft light. It's also going to be pretty punchy, pretty contrasty, but no discernible highlight in the middle. And that's kind of what's unique about this light. Okay, we're at 10. Okay. Great. And what we're kind of looking at as we look through these images is we're going to put up the 5 portraits side by side. And although the contrast changes a little bit in the image, what I want you to really focus on is what that gradation of shadow looks like from light to dark. And you'll notice that they all pretty much do a similar thing, which is they soften that gradation from light to dark. And it's going to create soft light in a variety of different circumstances. You're going to see some produce a little bit more contrast, some produce a tighter channel of light, which is kind of the purpose of a thinner softbox or a smaller modifier. But basically what they're all trying to do is create soft light. So why do we pick one versus the other? Well, a beauty dish, for example, might give us a little bit more specularity. A strip box might create a tighter channel. But when it comes to an octabox or a rectangular softbox, as long as they're both relatively the same size, you're going to get pretty consistently soft light. So the difference is the catch light. And we're going to look at that in just a second. But before we do, we're going to look at all of them together side by side. And truth be told, in a blind taste test, I think the vast majority of people would find it kind of difficult if the eyes were closed to tell which was which. And I always think this is a really kind of an interesting experiment. The only one that's really drastically different from all of these is the strip, which is the 4th image. And it doesn't get a lot of light on the background because it created that tighter channel of light. But if you actually look at the rest of them, the light is pretty similar. It's kind of surprisingly similar. The difference between maybe like a rectangular versus an octagonal is some people think that a rectangular can give you a little bit more control when you want to feather the background and moving it from side to side. But there's really not a massive difference when you're considering the overall scope of the image. Now we are going to zoom in and we're going to look at the catch lights on each of these. So we're going to look at a close-up version of the face, and I want you to pay close attention to the catch lights. Now this is going to be particularly useful when you ever want to see how the light was created or shaped, or you want to kind of decode what was happening. And the catch light becomes almost like a backstage view into what was happening with the lights, because it's reflecting what's happening, at least to the front. And so sometimes it can give you a lot of understanding and a lot of help when you want to figure out what it is. But all you have to really do is know what they look like. So let's visit these catch lights. The image on the left, the very first one, is the octabox. And you can clearly see there is a round octagonal shape in the eye. Right? It's a circle inside a circle, relatively, right? So that gives that concentric circle. This is a giant rectangular softbox. It's going to give you something that looks kind of similar to a window. We have the umbrella. Usually the way to tell is you can see the light stand or the C-stand, whatever you happen to have in it, and you can kind of see it, but it's still a round shape. Then we have the strip, narrower rectangle. And then finally we have the beauty dish, and usually the giveaway for the beauty dish is it kind of almost looks like a donut, and you can see a dark spot in the plate where that middle should be. That's usually the way we tell the difference. And there are a few other modifiers out there that kind of create different catch lights, but it becomes a really useful way that we can decode the image and see how all of these different modifiers respond in the scene.